Yeah. So like to discuss this to start with, like this industries in North America reporting the ransom attacks in the last year is given here. Like some of them are who are vulnerable to these are the government organizations, manufacturing sector, construction, utilities, and so on. And the least were affected in the ransom attacks were financial institutions, and then comes the education institutions, and also this average digital ransom they were expecting from the uh, what do you say, like the people was like somewhere around like this. In 2018 it was 4,300 US dollars, and then in 2019 it has raised to 5,900, and then 2020 even though it is not over it, the data from the safety detectives it has given that 8,100 US dollars. So what we can see from this range is like how exactly we are still vulnerable to most of these attacks or most of these what to say exploitations from the intruders or from the attackers. I will use the name intruders just to generalize the terms. Even the attackers or the anyone who is trying to gain the unauthorized access to the system. So if you can see over here, this is the trend which has been seen. Right now, first we will see the top 10 most exploited vulnerabilities that has been published from the researchers from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and then the Cyber Security Department of Homeland Security and Cyber Security and Infrastructure Security Agency. What they have done is they have listed the top vulnerabilities from the period from in the last 4 years, 2016 to 2020. We will just see that once, and then we will come back over here, which are the vulnerabilities. So the top 10 most exploited vulnerabilities are as follows. So for every year, they have given like couple of things which are vulnerable. In the year 2017, the Microsoft Office was most vulnerable product. Microsoft Office 2007 and Service Pack 3, and then the 2010 Service Pack 2, 2013 Service Pack 1, and 2016 products were vulnerable. And Microsoft had fixed it in November 2017. So associated malware was Loki, Formbook, Pony, or Fairit were the malware associated with it to uh, what to say to make this as vulnerable. And how this mitigation was done was this: Microsoft had what to say updated all its security patches for updated its security patches to overcome this associated malware. So then again in another one, most this one product was like vulnerable products list. It was having Microsoft Office 2007 Service Pack 3, and then Service Pack 2 1 and 2016 version, and then Vista Service Pack 2, Server 2008 Service Pack 2 configuration, and then Windows 7 Service Pack 1 and Windows 8.1. And also like the associated malware in this case was FinSpy, Latent Bot, and Dridex. Like Microsoft fixed it, however, in 2017, but they have to update all the Microsoft products with the latest security patches. See, now you can understand, even though they are the technologically leading companies in the world, how they are affected by this Trojans and then the malware. So what we can understand from this is, like, even though they are the technology leaders, they have to keep on regularly updating their services in order to come out of these vulnerable things, so that the users will be getting all this what to say like virus free and also malware free software to use. Other one which has been mostly vulnerable was Apache Struts. So it was earlier 2.3.x before, and then all these versions were been vulnerable, and then it was associated malware with this was the Juxbox. So it was fixed by the Oracle in September 2017. What they did is they have upgraded this Struts 2.3.32 to some other version. So next again the vulnerable product was Microsoft Office, and in that the edition list was included Visual Basics and also some of these server components that was having the name Dridex. Here is a typo actually, so it should not be 2012 anyways. So the next one is the Microsoft SharePoint. So what was the associated malware with this was the China chopper. So Microsoft fixed it in February 2019. So again, they have updated all with the security patches. So then again, the Microsoft Windows is in the list. Then Windows Server patches, server versions, right? Windows 10 Gold version, Windows 7, some of the service packs, they were all vulnerable with some of this malware associating with this Eternal Synergy and Eternal Blue exploit kit. However, this Microsoft fixed it in March 2017 by updating all their patches. Later came the Adobe Flash Player that was associated with a malware called as DocCall, and it was fixed in 2018. So they have updated their Flash Player versions in the subsequent release, so to upgrade all those vulnerabilities. Then came again with the .NET framework. So it was having some of the malwares associated as FinSpy, FinFisher, Wingbird, etc. And it was fixed by Microsoft in 2017 by releasing new things. And again, this same on the Office web app server and associated products. And the malware in this case was the Toshlip and UWarrior, and it was fixed in somewhere in 2015 April. They like what they will how to overcome this is they will update this security patches. So as and when some security updates come to your phone or to the OS, try to install them because they will be providing some solution to some of the attacks. So the next came in the case of the Drupal. Drupal is an content management system that is on a LAMP-based architecture. So when you are installing this, it was having some issues with an associated malware by name Kitty. So the Drupal community fixed it in 2018 because like it is an open source thing, right? And then they have what they have done is like they have to upgrade to the most recent version of the Drupal to 2000, Drupal 7 or Drupal 8. See, now what we can understand from this is even though they are all the leading technology companies and other things, but they had to overcome all these issues and provide the new patches. So only way to overcome all this is provide new solutions, then update the previous versions so that it will provide some sort of security against the existing attacks or existing vulnerabilities, right? So is it necessary for technology, right? So management of the technology will ensure the suitability of this approach for an effective security application in the protection of assets. So it is an large question which cannot be answered in a single framework. For example, like biometric identification, right? So there are various challenges in this biometric as well. Like multimodal biometric is one of the recent ones which has been used for countering the attacks because like some of these images, if you are producing the image in front of these biometric devices like face recognition, for example, if or you are having a 3D mask of your fingerprint, they used to recognize as a person. So as an overcome to as an what to say as an patch to it, like the multimodal biometrics was been introduced so that various measures were combined to say that okay, whether it has been identified as a personal so to a correct person or to something else, right? Okay, okay. Right now, like intelligent CCTV are the another one. Like what exactly the intelligent CCTV means? So intelligent CCTV will only capture the device, capture the landscape which is visible to it. Now, intelligent CCTV, you can think of like detecting any motion in the scene or like any detect or rising some of the alarms. So all those things you can think of an intelligent CCTV. So intelligent CCTV will provide a strategy to protect these assets for an organization or what to say, it is an improved version of only the monitoring. In addition to the monitoring and surveillance, it will make you proactively, it will provide you some of the solutions. For example, if some movement is detected at some particular place, right? The person who has to monitor all these videotapes has to find out like manually at a later stage if something has happened. But instead of that, can we make this CCTVs as itself intelligent, so that they can identify whenever some action has been identified over there or action has been detected at the place. For example, one of the places which we can do is like, for example, banks, or like even at the places where exactly the most security is required, or in the country borders, wherein like if you are able to find out any human movement at the times which was not supposed to be, then you can identify and then create triggers or generate triggers so that it will alert the concern. So all those things can be combined in addition to the technology for providing the security. So this will be not a solution by single physical devices. In turn, it should also have some of the software support also, right? So now threat landscape. So which are the threat landscape for the technology based security control? So what should they have it, right? One is the advanced threat detection. Advanced threat detection in the sense like it should keep on updating itself. So every time when something has been discovered, then it should make sure that it is identifying the threats at the advanced level and provide a solution. And then the network and then the desktop forensics, network and desktop data leakage protection, and behavioral based analysis. So this behavioral based analysis is a quite important thing in the present day scenario. In the most of the intrusion detection system, they are intelligently using this behavior based analysis. What they're trying to do is, okay, one node has entered the system. Now, how to make sure that whether it is a legitimate one or not. So they're trying to find out or figure out the behavior footprint of that particular node, like how much time it is spending on the system, whether it is trying to gain access to any other network component, or like whether it is trying to influence the other nodes in the vicinity, like an worm or whatever it has been doing, or is it sending some connections to some other machines. All kind of the behaviors can be identified for that case. So this security or threat intelligence feeds or threat forecasting and then modeling them, and all these are the threat landscape which are been present in the technology for technology based security controls. So what are the detection systems and what kind of solutions are there in this case? So the necessity to detect the presence or activity of unauthorized persons in an area of interest requires appropriate sensors, as I mentioned previously, according to the risk and the environment. So one thing is the application of the sensors. So application of sensors on the barriers or also on the open ground, so that like if any unauthorized person or any movement has been detected at that place, it should be identified. Or like multi-beam laser intruder detection techniques. So even though these laser intruder detection techniques, it has been used extensively at some particular areas, it will also helpful to identify the intruder location, movement, and also some important information about the intruder are there. Like they will, the physical devices scene, we need to like what to say reanalyze the scene, and also we need to make sure that the person's photo or any kind of information is legitimately visible. Then we can analyze the scene and try to identify, okay, this is what been the solution is. This is the case if it is in the outer world, but how about in a computer network thing, right? So some of the security technologies that are present over here are like digital certificates, and then the digital signatures, and then this SSL encryption on this digital certificate, or some of the existing technologies that can be efficiently used for enforcing the information security. Like for example, if you can use TLS and AES, all these are the standards which are there in place, which can be employed for providing information security. So these are all having the well documented things, right? Like if you take the SSL, how we can use it, TLS, what kind of support it will provide, and what kind of information it can be used to provide security. All those things can be having this one. So in addition, can we have multi-factor authentication methods? So utilizing the smart cards, tokens, and then biometrics. So in addition to the technology which we are using to communicate, will provide us with a guarantee of security, right? So public key infrastructure, as I told before, is a security system that extensively uses the digital certificates in the sense like in the form of the keys. Like whenever a server is sending some information, even if you are having a client server architecture also, you can think in the sense wherein the client, if it wants to send some information to the server, what it will do is it will use the public key of the whatever the public key is available, and then it will encrypt it and it send it. So if anyone wants to access it, they will use their private keys and then they will utilize it. Similarly, you can think of a private to private key, a private key infrastructure also. Like we'll talk about that at a little later, but we can use that also for providing the security. The next is the cryptography. Cryptography, what it will do is it's a art and science, we can call it. It's not only the science, because the new standards or the new things will arrive only when we think differently in this case. So the cryptography has a various dimension. So cryptography, what we can think is the process of taking the plain text and then scrambling it into a ciphertext so that whatever the content is there in the plain text is not visible to the readers or to the intruder. So it is a way of securing the information. So if you want to secure some information, make it in the ciphertext. But how do we make the ciphertext? By using some sort of the keys, whether it is public key or the private key. That is a another issue. So the cryptography application should be used whenever the data is considered as sensitive or having a high value. Or also you can use this cryptography when we are keeping this data onto some servers which we don't trust. But we should also make sure that we are not giving any vulnerabilities so that that can be exploited and then that will be used. So cryptography is extensively used in various applications, like even in mathematically also it will be useful to understand how exactly cryptography is used. There are two things to this cryptography challenges. On the one side, these mathematicians and the computer scientists and the related scientists in general, will provide various mathematically sound proofs for securing the information. But at the and also like they will give the attack strategies, how secure it is, and all theoretically or information theoretically they will derive. But at the same time, it is challenging from the technologist's perspective to implement those and get it done as a working piece, right? So that is again the implementation challenge, because some of these cryptographic algorithms will fail in implementation. For example, if you take some of the very good algorithms like elliptic curve cryptography and all, yes, they're working out, they're fine. But for implementing that require a lot of resources, because some of these cryptographic algorithms will be implemented on a Galois field that requires extensive computation. Whether do we require to do that kind of an extensive computation to save all these things? So we need to have a balance between the research cryptography and then the practicing cryptography. So both should be go hand in hand, so that whenever a new threat has come, so we need to try to analyze mathematically, and also we need to find out any technology can be built on that so that it can be used. For example, if you take the recent trends like blockchain or the hashing or all those things, or the application of the mathematical cryptography in the present thing, right? So and then the vulnerability assessment is an another important component for many organization security infrastructure, and it has been integrated into their rollout process. Rollout process is every time the companies will roll out some of their white sheet or whatever the policies, right? So in that, every time they will give some of the vulnerability assessment report. So which were the things which were vulnerable previously and how they have done it non-vulnerable. And also whenever we want to deploy some application or if you want to use some services, it is always important to do the test, like which kind of vulnerabilities do exist and how we can exploit them, or do we have any countermeasures to do that. Because we have seen the example of the payload thing, like we have targeted some machines and sent the payload. That payloads are in turn like monitoring our devices. So how we can make sure that such kind of things will not happen, right? So now coming to the picture of physical security technologies is like how we can provide this physical security. So physical security in the sense, in a broad way, what I am saying is like these are to implement the fundamental security controls. That means if the devices are kept somewhere at some place, that should not be accessible to the common person. So we should not be able to give the physical access of these devices, that is at the first place, and then we should make sure that we are authenticating the identity of the person, and then verifying the access authorization and accessing the assessing the affiliation. So these things will make sure at the ground level that our systems are at the least risk. For example, if you restrict the people who are accessing the server, right, then you can remove one set of users from making your system vulnerable, right? And then the authentication of the identity. So if you can block the persons based on the identity, that will solve half of our problem. And also verifying this access authorization and assessing affiliation from time to time, that will also keep our system clean, and also it is keep the security thing. So these controls are central to a comprehensive information security risk management program. Comprehensive in the sense like it is almost near complete, but it's not complete because we don't know from where which kind of threat will come in a future date. So what we can do always is we need to analyze, and we should anticipate sometimes some risk is coming, or sometimes we should be proactive when some of the ports are open or they're vulnerable. But whenever some new attacks or something will come, then we have to somehow address it. So this is what the thing is. So basically we should make sure that the information security risk management program or the protocol have been successfully implemented. That means the restriction of the physical access and then environmental monitoring and all those things. So what is the integrated identification technology, right? So national security, economy, and growth required quality security technology and security management to protect the critical infrastructure of an organization. So in the integrated identification technology, what we will do is we will combine various technologies, and we will make sure that the critical infrastructure is given the high priority. So always we should make sure that we should identify or we should risk profile our organizations or any company, so that which data is highly vulnerable, which data is highly critical, right, and also which data is highly sensitive. So then depending on the particular thing, we need to provide an integrated identified technology. A single technology will not cater to all the needs. So based on the requirement, we need to change whatever the landscape, and also we need to find out which solution will work in which case, right? So how about the technology solutions to provide as an what you can say the technological solutions possible for identifying these risks and then mitigating them. So one thing what we can do is application whitelisting, so that it can prevent malicious software and unapproved programs from running. So periodically, if you monitor our system and find out which are the applications are running currently, so we need to find out and make sure that only the programs which we have whitelisted will be running all the time, so that the whatever the malicious software or unapproved programs are there, they should not be running even though they are present in the system. So it is better to make them not to be there in the system. Even though if they are there, we should always make sure that only they are authorized to use it. So there are various ways to find out which are the things that are running on our system. We need to identify them, and then we need to find out. Then the important thing comes over here: patch applications such as Java, PDF viewers, Flash, web browsers, and Microsoft Office. We don't know in which way these will create the problem, because for example, what happens is sometimes we save some images as a .exe file, right? So even though it appears as an image, but the type of that file will be an exe, so which can be a potential threat. For example, some PDF viewers are there. Like when we try to access or open some documents using that, it may in turn can run some of the unwanted malware or the Trojan that can lead to some of the problems. Right? Flash or the web browser. Web browsers is the most, what do you say, the major reason for getting the vulnerabilities in your system. So like people say jokingly that how to make the things or information secure is don't communicate. right? But that is not the solution for everything, right? We need to communicate in the information technology age, but at the same time, we should make sure that whenever we are making such communication, we are highly in a safe zone, or we are making sure that whatever the applications that are running on my system or at the server are safe, and then they are whitelisted. And also this flash versions, when we are trying to run some links or some whatever, then there may be high chance that they may download something onto your system without your knowledge, and they may be giving remote access to some of the computers. Even the Microsoft Office, like in general, they are trying to overcome with the new patches and all those things, but still the attackers are also coming up with new strategies to bind some of these trojans or the malwares along with the files that are supported by the Microsoft Office, and then they are creating new kind of trojans or new kind of spyware. So we need to continuously patch these applications by updating it. So whenever there is an update for the OS or for something, don't try to ignore it, just make those updates as and when they come, but make sure that those updates are from the genuine source and they are not from the attackers itself, right? Because sometimes what will happen is, like, we'll make sure that okay, the updates are required for the system, but we, while installing that, we forget that whether we are doing the updates from a genuine source or not. So we should have a extra care for that. And also this patch the operating system vulnerabilities, as and when some new vulnerability is discovered, all the operating system, irrespective of whether they are Linux flavors or the Windows flavors, they will just Windows based, they will just give the new patches. So we need to install them so that any kind of a Trojan or a malware which was gone undetected will also be mitigated. And also other important thing based on all this is, like, having an antivirus software is also must if you are using a Windows based machine. Nowadays, anyhow, Windows Security Defender is coming, and up to the certain extent possible, it is identifying if it is a kind of an exe file, but still having an antivirus solution will make sure that your system is less prone to the attack. So I won't say that if you install an antivirus somewhere, it will make the system completely secure, but it can, up to certain extent, it can restrict the vulnerability of your system. And also we should also make sure that restrict the administrative privileges to operating systems and applications based on the user duties. So this is a must in any of the technological solutions. If you are looking for a solution for a large organization, if you are using it on a operating system and applications, like suppose who should have the access to the operating system? Everyone should not have an access to the operating system, because they can corrupt it, or even they can change some of the patch files, or they can remove some of the services. All those things can happen. So we should have some like legitimate person to access these resources, and then access to this legitimate resources, and then only they can do any updates on the operating systems and then the applications based on the requirement, right? So this is the solution provided by the Kaspersky Lab technologies. What they have provided is some of the risk whatever was there, and also what are the mitigation strategy. So application whitelisting. So what is the solution for doing that? If we do it once and if we remove it, then it is not possible to create a complete awareness. So one thing what we should do is we should dynamically whitelist the applications which are all present in the system. Dynamically whitelist in the sense, like, okay, when as and when we need to, it is possible, we need to monitor which are the applications that are running in my system, whether it is standalone or the servers, then go on whitelisting them, then it is required. And also patching application vulnerabilities. So patching vulnerable application vulnerabilities is a big thing, and then it is a time consuming process. What can be done is, in patching the application vulnerabilities, is we should try to do it on a regular scale. If some application is running, we should find out what are the vulnerabilities that are present in that particular application. Then we should make sure that what are the vulnerability, we should assess that, like how much it can destroy my system or what kind of access it can have. So based on that, I should make sure that that vulnerability is addressed. Similarly, this patching the OS vulnerability is also an important thing, like whenever, as and when a new kind of an attack or a malicious thing can be identified, so that has to be patched by updating the OSC. Like all the service providers, like whenever some application is there, like from Microsoft or the Adobe or from the Java or like the OS from Windows or the Kali Linux even for that matter, they will be regularly giving some of the patches to some of the code or the kernel code which has been written previously. So we need to regularly update our OS so that we can get rid of some of the vulnerabilities. That is the first thing we need to do, right? And also this one user application configuration hardening is one type, like how we can mitigate such things. One is by web control, like blocking the scripts in the web browser, automated scripts. For example, like nowadays, like earlier it was not a big practice. Like everyone used to have some sort of cookies data, and they used to steal some information from our web browser. But in later part, it was made mandatory to take the consent of the user to read which content you want to, to have the consent from the users that which content you want to capture from the user and keep it, right? So that is one web control, like we can block the scripts in the web browsers, and then we can have some of the antivirus, right? And also, but the another challenge is about this dynamic analysis of email and web content. It is a very difficult task, because we don't know like whether the mail is from the genuine one or from the malware. So always it is best to have a web antivirus, or then for the mail server especially, so that whenever some sort of a threat is been identified, that will be taken care at that stage itself. So particularly having separate antivirus for the mail server and also for the internet gateway will solve this problem, right? And also like what we can do is another is OS generic exploit mitigation, automatic exploit prevention. That means like OS generic exploit mitigation is the important thing, because some of the ports that are there always on the open in always that are open to vulnerabilities. So we should be make sure that those ports which are idle for a long period of time should be closed. Similarly, like for different things, we are having different technology solutions. For example, network activity logging, computer event logging. If someone is taking care, we should make sure that we are having a security center, so wherein those kind of applications are being correctly monitored, and that is not been from a information is not been going somewhere outside. And also like a software-based application firewall for incoming and outgoing traffic. What kind of incoming traffic is coming to us always, and what kind of traffic is outgoing? See, incoming traffic, whatever happens is like sometimes if it is a denial of service attack, what they will do is suddenly they will send huge automated request to your server, so that even if someone is legitimate users will not get the service. I'm not talking about the server load. Sometimes what happens is like during a sale or during some results are out, then the server may experience huge load, but that time the service may not be available. That is a different story. But if it is just an attack to make sure that the service is not available to the others, then we should have an advanced firewall which will detect this kind of an incoming traffic which is huge in size, and it will make sure that the denial of service attacks. So we should make sure that we will mitigate. Similarly, this email content we need to filter, like by using security for mail server. But if you are using a generic email like provided by free for Yahoo and Gmail, it is better to not open if you think that some of these things are from an not genuine sources. Even if you open, make sure that you are not click on any of the content or the links which are given in the email, unless and until it is very important and sent from the trusted party. See, nowadays even all this kind of free email service providers, what they're doing is they're having a classification criteria. So if they find that some of these things are violating the normal norms of an email, they will be classified as spam mails. So that kind of thing you can have it if you're launching a web server of your own. So web server of your own, like Windows web server or whatever for your application, then you can have it. right? Similarly, web content filtering, web domain whitelisting, that also you can do on a dynamic basis. So as and when something comes, then you should have it. And the another major part is removable and portable media control. This has been done at majority of the places now, so that you cannot use any external device that has been removable and portable to any of the servers or the standalone machines which are in critical nature. So only thing they will be on a network computer. So if you want to transfer some files, use a protocol such as FTP or something and get the access and get those files which you are entitled to. But at the same time, you are not supposed to use this removable or the portable media, portable media thing. So these things are made sure so that any unauthorized access will be taken care of by using an external hardware, connecting an external hardware like similar to a pen drive, and then get the data onto that or load some of the things from the server. All this will come into this category. So first thing is disable all the USB ports. That has been done at most of the places now, but earlier a few years back it was a biggest threat for like what to say, spreading the trojans and then the malwares. Like if anyone is from the faculty background, then you can imagine like why this pen drives and all are disabled in the labs, just to make sure that this kind of viruses will not be transferred through the removable disks, right? And also this workstation inspection, if you are using on a shared system, we should always make sure that this system is constantly updated and checked for the existence of any malwares. So these are all the certain precautions you can take to mitigate these things, right? So especially if you distributed denial.
Hello, Professor Pawan, your voice is not audible. Hello, Professor Pawan, your voice is not audible. No, we are not able to hear Professor Pawan. Though your audio is unmute, we are not able to hear. Hello. No, we are not able to hear.
Person you are speaking with has put your call on hold. Please stay on the line.
ನೀವು ಮಾತನಾಡುತ್ತಿರುವ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕರೆಯನ್ನು ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಲೈನ್ನಲ್ಲಿಯೇ.
US attacks, like what has actually happened was like different industries have been targeted by different types of DDoS attacks. What you can do is like after that, when I share the slides, you can just check this link and find out how the various industries has been targeted by this and what are the strategies was used by the users. So what they will do is they will generate this attack from different places by automating the captcha, so that the industries will think that the genuine traffic is coming for some of the resources, but they are not the genuine. So how do we identify them is by classifying them by using some of the strategies by their behavior analysis or some other methods, and then we can identify those distributed denial of service attacks, and then we can mitigate them. So some of the security controls that can be extensively used for this are as given below. But even though they have their some of these things are having their origin in cryptography, but they are extensively used in providing the security. One of them is the hash functions. Like now, suppose you are downloading a Adobe Reader from some of the different source, and then you want to verify whether it has been genuine or not. So one way to do that is by using the hash value of that. So download something genuinely from the website, that is from the Adobe, and find out its hash value. And then like from wherever source you want to download it, just download it and then take the hash value of both. So if they are same, then it is meaning that both of them are like from the legitimate source and they are the required software. If they are different, then it means that one of them is from a one of them is not from a legitimate source, and we should avoid that because it may have different patches attached to it that can be a malware. So maybe one of the reasons for Microsoft Office to have those many attacks was this reason, because like many will not use the genuine version of the software and they will try to crack and then they will use it. So that was the challenge. So using hash, what the companies can do is they can put the hash values of these softwares on their website. So if anyone downloads it from some other source or somewhere from the other vendors, then they can compare the hash values and find out that okay, they are from the genuine thing, because the hash of a thing will remain as constant, like 256 or whatever you use, it will remain as a constant value. It will not change, whatever may be the type of the input you will give. So that you can ensure as one of the methods. So digital signature, we know that like how these digital signatures can be used so that it can be verified at various locations. Okay, this has been the source that has been transmitted, and then like now if I am transmitting some data, I can put my digital signature and then I can transmit, so it can be verified at any particular place in the network. So this kind of digital signatures can be put on the packets which we are transmitting, so that if anyone in the network has a doubt whether it is from the genuine source or not, they can verify these things. And the other approach are like secured socket layer and transport layer security. So this like layer wise security will be there in the TCP IP protocol or any communication protocol. So in every stage, some or the other kind of a security layer has been added, so that whenever the data is transmitted over these layers at the end, at the receiver, you can again decrypt it in the same order or like whatever been sent, then you can get back the original message. Similarly, like HTTPS or SSL striping, so that you can get the content and then stripe off all the remaining things. Then the digital certificate. So when you are accessing some of the website, right? So you can have some of the digital certificates for accessing that, like TLS, or you can just click on the lock button which is next to the website and you can see whether it has been secured or not. One of the ways by using the HTTPS. So HTTP is the one of the protocols which was used to like transfer the files in some sense, you can say. Now how you can make it secure. So if you are having an HTTPS connection, it will make sure that whatever been transmitted over that connection or transferred over that connection will be in secure in nature. So steganography is another way wherein you can make sure that whatever the information you have passed will be able to identify or authenticate at some stage at some by known technique. So it is similar to cryptography, but not exactly cryptography. Like steganography in one way, what it will do is it will not make it the ciphertext unreadable. So in turn, it will make sure that even though the steganographic principles are used, we will be not able to identify whether the steganography has been done or not. That is the major difference between cryptography. But in cryptography, we can make sure that some bits are cryptographically changed. Or you can think that steganography is an some kind of a watermark is hidden inside the information, but it is not visible in for our eyes or in some other sense. But if we can analyze, we can get back to that and we can think that okay, this is the person who has sent it. Similar to a digital watermark, you can think that is not visible, like that it is hidden over there. End-to-end encryption is a recent trend wherein the information which is transmitted from me will be end-to-end encrypted. That means the receiver and the sender will share a pair of keys, private keys, and then the sender, whichever he is sending, he will encrypt the message and then he will send it. So the receiver will decrypt it and get it. But here the challenge is only the sender and receiver will be able to identify or communicate. The challenge with this is if it has any forensic application or the cases, suppose any communication has been made by the end users that has some security risk for the country or something. Now, how to identify them? That is the challenge over here if we use the end-to-end encryption. There is how to sniff the packets if they are in the encrypted mode. Even though there are searchable encryption schemes are there on this packets or on the network traffic, but still it's a open field wherein a lot of challenges are there. One of the examples for this you can think is about the WhatsApp end-to-end encryption. So when you are sending the information to the end user, like whoever the end user is, it will be encrypted over the network from your device, and that person only who reads it will be able to access the information. Right? I hope I'm audible, right? Just to cross check. Yeah, okay. Yeah, fine. So like what are the examples of the encryption? One of the encryption technique is like in the as I told before. So the encryption is a process based on a mathematical algorithm in which the information will be hidden or kept as secret. So unencrypted data is called as the plain text, and encrypted data is referred to as the ciphertext. These are all the basics of doing this. So in order for the encryption to work, a key will be used to make the information accessible to the intended recipients. A code in the sense, a key you can think. Like if two entities are involved in the communication, they will have a set of rules and they will mutually agree on those set of rules and then they will communicate. So this is the way this crypto system works. Like I will just see to it in a later. Okay. So in the end-to-end encryption, which I was giving an example of WhatsApp. Now the end-to-end encryption uses one of the examples. Another example for this is cryptos, a sculpture with the mysterious 865 character encrypted message on 4 large copper sheets. So it is on display at CIA headquarters for 27 years, and it has become an obsession for would-be code breakers. So even the NSA has been not able to decrypt its entire message. Some people say that they have done it, but there are no legitimate sources that say that they have decoded what is there in the encrypted message. So WhatsApp is also posing that challenge now for the investigators if they want to have a digital evidence against some crime. So and if they have communicated over the WhatsApp, so WhatsApp will not have any data of those packets in a plain text because everything is end-to-end encrypted. So we should make sure that the law is not compromised when doing this. So certain researchers have worked on it wherein they can identify some patterns from the communication and then identify what exactly may be there in their communication, but that is not 100% true, right? So end-to-end encryption maximizes the data protection regardless of whether the data is in public or the private cloud or in a device or in the transit. But the one thing is like okay, one forensic part of this is badly been shaped. Why? Because like forensic part now you cannot have it as an evidence for anything when you are before the law, right? But at the same time it is giving or maximizing the data protections for the user. So you can remember in one of the phones, like what has happened is one of the phone companies had denied to give what is there on their device to the court. So that are the legal challenges that have been faced in the end-to-end encryption. But whatever may be the case, it will provide a kind of security to the end users, saying that okay, whatever I communicate will be in the encrypted format over the network. So except me, and unless my device is compromised, my data will be in the safe way. So it will not be accessible to the others because it will be in the encrypted format. So it will be an invaluable in the effort to combat some of the advanced level attacks like IoT devices, so that no one can hack your routers or the intermediate devices, because you don't know what exactly you are communicating and also what is the syntax of communication. But only thing is it will be having the compliance with the law. That is the only challenge now this end-to-end encryption is facing. Apart from that, people are saying that end-to-end encryption is one of the safest ways to communicate between the parties. Right. So encryption, there are three states of the data. One is data in motion, data in rest, or the data in use. Right. Data in motion is like being transmitted over a network. So in the case of data in motion, when it has been transmitted over the network, if it is in the plain format with some encapsulation of header and tailor bits or at the layer wise, but still you can come with a strategy and find out, okay, what is the information that is present in the entire packet by the nature of the encoding, by the nature of the start and the stop bits or the frame size. You can identify in some way. But if you are having in the end-to-end encryption, we cannot have that kind of a thing because the information itself is not in the plain text. Even if we do all that, we won't be able to get the information. So data at the rest is, it is in the storage on desktop, laptops, or even the mobile phones, or in the case of what do you say, on the phones or the IoT devices. So data at rest can also only be encrypted and kept at the device level by keeping a key to it, either at a privacy mode or whatever may be the mode which we can keep it, or we can encrypt and we can keep it, and then when we need to use it, decrypt it, and then, but it is huge computationally expensive, as you can see the application. See, for example, if you take the IoT devices, if you are having a tiny sensor nodes, then what is the use of encrypting the entire data? Yes, if they are critical or if they are used in the mission critical applications, we should be worried about those devices. Otherwise, we should not be worried. That is the first thing. And also, like in the data in use is in the process of being generated or updated, erased, or viewed. In this case, how we can use the encryption. So if we are deleting the encrypted data, then it is very difficult to get back that data. So one of the ideas where people are suggesting, if you want to discard your old phones, right, what you want to do is like load some content onto the phone and then encrypt it, and then like give the format or the factory reset to the phone, so that even if anyone tries to like what do you say, get back the data which was there in the phone, he will not be able to do it because the encrypted data will only be available, because there are some of the software wherein we can use that to get back the original data which has been deleted. For example, Windows having some softwares that can be used to get back the deleted data. But like it is a phone, if you are discarding the old one, right? So if it goes to the wrong hands, like when you are selling it at second-hand place or somewhere, then they can use some of this software and get the content of your phone. So one idea to that is just encrypt your full the memory of your phone and then encrypt it and then give the format factory settings. So if you do once or twice, then whoever is trying to what do you say,
The person you are speaking with has put your call on hold. Please
Hello?
stay on the line.
Am I
ನೀವು
audible?
ಮಾತನಾಡುತ್ತಿರುವ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕರೆಯನ್ನು ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಲೈನ್ನಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಇರಿ.
आप जिस व्यक्ति से बात कर रहे हैं उसने आप
Yeah, am I audible? No. Yeah, is someone trying to call me, or it was a mistake from unmute from someone? Yeah, hope I'm connected, right? Okay. Right. Yeah, okay. Because I was worried again, like if my voice was gone and someone is trying to contact me. Yeah, okay, fine. So like these are the things that are there when you are trying. So how we can overcome that is like if there is a use of a secure socket layer or a virtual private network, VPNs, so that we can make sure that it can protect against the protects against the man in the middle attacks and the packet sniffers who will try to identify what is there in the content and get over that. So the challenge here is we need to make sure that this risks are been mitigated properly in the risk has been mitigated properly in the system, and then we are maximizing the returns which we have made on this investment. Like investment in the sense like developing these algorithms and all those strategies, right? And also like I can say that there is no sure shot technique saying that this is the only way we can do it. So challenges are arriving, we need to solve those challenges and then come up with new solution, right? So how is about the building the encryption strategies? Like we can define that into 7 stages. One is like to have the collaboration. So whatever the major initiative we need to do is, who are the major stakeholders in our data, we need to combine them, and then we need to define them, like these are the things that are there, and then how we can go with the encryption process, like whether we have to have it as an access control, or like do we have the encryption and then the access control. All these things will come into this picture. And also we can have the data classification as well, wherein we can define which data is most critical, and then which can have the encryption, and which can be have like less vulnerability, like simple data which is not vulnerable and which is commonly found everywhere, that we need not bother much about. So we need to classify the data so that which are been having the highest priority should be kept in a secure way, and the least priority we can keep a access layer protocol or a access control method that will suffice. Then we should go for a key management strategies based on our requirement, like whether we want to go for a key management technique as a centralized one or a decentralized one. Because if we go for a centralized one, if someone make that system as an attack, or like if someone takes a control over that system, that will make the entire system to collapse. So instead of that, can we make it as a distributed key distribution center? Instead of one key are you able to hear me? Yeah, are you able to hear me now? Okay, like maybe some network issue or whatever, I don't know, but I'm on a stable connection, so I should not face this issue. Okay, let us see. I have changed my connection as well. We will see if I'm audible again, right? So these are the things which you were talking about. Hope I'm audible, right, and not muted. Yes. One second, let me share my screen again. Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about this, wherein we can have this as a 7-stage process, like how we can design the key management, and also like finding the right solution for my environment, like whether we need to go for a third party or whether we need to go for a standalone system, or like what kind of environment we should be able to do it. That also we should decide. And also access control mechanism. See, the access control mechanism is a strong mechanism wherein it solves a lot of these vulnerability issues. Who can audit what will give you most what to say secure environment wherein you can communicate. And also regularly, if you can update the access control policies, like whenever an employee leaves an organization or joins an organization, how his keys should be, and also like what kind of sessions he can explore. All those things will play a major role. Like if you can implement a Kerberos system over here, so that can give a very fruitful access control mechanisms, right? And also, what are the consequences for this? So consequences is like when we are defining this encryption standards, that has to be agreed both by the stakeholders. All the stakeholders were involved in it, because like over a period of time, like if something goes wrong, then they should have all the remedies for all that. Like if we course in laws or whatever, like if the sensitive information is in leak, how we can control that, or what are the alternate strategy for doing that. All those things we need to think of. And also SSL decryption, right? Like while encryption is a great way to protect the data, it is also an effective way to hide the threats as well. Okay, so most network security protocols cannot decrypt and inspect what is there in the secured socket layer connections, like in a HTTPS traffic. So most of the services nowadays are using this HTTPS connection with SSL. For example, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, right? Google search and Dropbox. But this is not the only way to do it. They will do it at the network layer, but at the same level, we should make sure that we are not having any insider attacks also. So while making sure that we are having the encrypted data, we should take care of all these measures to identify, right? Like we should not, even if we can have some of the attacks like replay attacks and all, they're all there in the when we are doing the encryption and decryption. But we should make sure that even for the replay attacks, our system is not vulnerable. Okay. So there are for the encryption, like test for the data at rest, what we can do is full encryption. These are the techniques which have been used. That is the data at rest which has been stored. One is full disk encryption scheme for the endpoint protection, or the full disk encryption with the endpoint protection, and then hardware security module for the lifecycle protection, and also encrypting the file systems when before it is storing, and the virtual encryption for the storage protection, so that only the people who are intended to do will get the data. And also this file and folder encryption for unstructured data protection, and also database encryption for the structured data protection we can make sure. Right? So just to verify, am I audible properly? Yeah, okay. And also for the data in motion, that is in a transmission or whatever, what we can have is virtual private network for remote access, and also Wi-Fi protected areas. So for the wireless network, like for example, you can have the secure keys which are not been able to be broken, and also secure sockets layer for the web browser to communicate with the server, and also this secure shell connection, SSH connection for remote monitoring or remote accessing. All these things we can make sure in the case of, right? So to give an overview of symmetric and asymmetric crypto system, what we will do is plain text message, and we will ciphertext will give you message in this format. That means like if I have a message, welcome to cybersecurity course, this will be encrypted into this format, right? And then like the decryption will be encrypted into this format, which is not readable, that is the ciphertext. And then decryption, like I will get back actually what message was been transmitted by the sender. Also here the important is like even the type, whether it is an password, if we are sharing, we should also make sure that it is in the caps or the small letters, right? That also matters. So our decryption algorithm should get us what exactly has been encrypted, right? So plain text is the secret message. We will use a public algorithm or a public key crypto system, and we will send it over the network, and at the receiver he will use his private key, and then he will decrypt the message. So this is how the private key works, or it is also called as the symmetric key encryption, right? So these are the techniques they are using. One is the key, and then the encryption methods is one private key will be used. WinZip is an type for this kind of an encryption strategy, wherein we can use this WinZip and then encrypt the message. In the case of the asymmetric key encryption, what will be done is like two set of keys will be used. One is the public key and the other is private key. So if we encrypt with the private key, then we need other key to the decryption. Right. So one of the some of the examples are the Diffie-Hellman, and then the elliptic curve crypto system, and then RSA are examples of this kind of mechanism. So it is the same. Like if you are having the plain system, plain message, so that will be encrypted, and then it will be decrypted by using this person's the private key, right? So what are the systems or the devices that are exposed to the attacks, right? So one is the network itself has been exposed to attacks, which has been that is a channel on which we will communicate. It is used for communication and data transfer, which can be wired or even wireless. And also the client server architecture can also attack, wherein people can make sure that the client's message will not reach the server, or the server will not send any response to the client with the help of a man in the middle attack or some other attack strategies. And then internet, as we know, like it requires the layers in the communication protocol, so it can have this layer as target. If you can target this layer, and then if you launch some of the attacks, then also it is vulnerable, right? And also like IP addresses, if it has been exposed, then we can easily identify which device I am communicating at the end device also. And also like these are the places: routers, switches, botnet, domain, and also DNS. All these things are been exposed to attacks, whereas in a VPN, the channel between the two endpoints will be encrypted. But at the same time, if the end devices are been compromised, then there will be no use of such things. So these are the places which are exposed to the attacks, right? So different measures are employed to enhance the security of the network. So one thing is purging. Like in the purging, what we can do is, like if someone is accessing who is not accessed to, or like he was earlier employee of my company, but he is not no more the my sure that such people are not having the access to the data, right? And we are having the clearing and also writing things and also storing distraction. All these things we need to make sure that, like if anyone who is trying to gain unauthorized access or trying to store it unauthorizedly, we should not allow people. So what are the privacy things we can do it? One thing is pseudo anonymization. We can make sure that, okay, pseudo anonymization, what we will do is we will be able to identify, like up to a certain extent, okay, I can do the guessing and I can find out, okay, this is belongs to this person, right? But in the case of anonymization, I'm completely making that as an anonymous data. But in that case, it should also be important to make out how I am going to do in the reverse order as well. Like because in the anonymous, I'm totally removing the identification of the person who is associated with the data. But whereas in the pseudo identification, what I will do is, by at least some information or some indication, or the artificial ID will be given in place of the ID, so that I can identify, or I can have a map to exactly which person it is belonging to. And in the case of the anonymization, what will be done is, like entire information, right, whatever been associated with the identification will be removed. So these kind of things it can be used, right? And also like tokenization, what we can do is, like it is in the context of data security. Like a sensitive data element is there, we can just replace it with a non-sensitive information that is called as token. So using this token, we can map back to the actual data and get the data what exactly been stored. These are the things which we can make to make the data privacy control. So there are many ways to do this data privacy. So in general, all of them will connect to this. See, anonymization, even if we do, we should we should map to the actual users. And pseudo anonymization is also such techniques wherein we should at least make sure that by using some mechanism, like we should map it to the owners. And tokenization is also the similar way. Right? And intrusion detection system, it is one of the things like which we have discussed even in the previous case. How we can detect the unauthorized access to a system is by using a firewall or a router, and it looks for the behavior of the data and also looks for the signature of the data. If some of them are missing, then it can report it as a authorized access. And having a good firewall will lead to having a good system, right? And also like honeypots are used to deceive the attackers and protect the system, and it creates the vulnerability system. So how do we do the vulnerability scanning? So we can, it's a proactive process as I mentioned. So we should keep on examine the system for the weaknesses because before the hacker attacks and show that this is vulnerable, right? So this is how we should do it. And penetration testing, as we are talking about, it will simulates, validates an attack before its impact has been shown, right? So there are various types in this black box testing. It is time consuming. We don't know, like it is, for example, guessing the password. We don't know the password, but still we are keep on guessing so that at some particular time we may get the access. So gray box testing, in which we will have the partial knowledge but with the limited access. So it is a regular use attack. But white box testing is complete testing, when with complete controls we will try to test something, and then we will think that okay, this is the attack which is going to happen if we are leaving this, so we will close those issues. So this is how this penetration testing is working. And also this security auditing is also important thing. It is a policy making process wherein what kind of data is accessible to whom in which way. And also we should make sure that the internal process check so that it will compliance, it will have the compliance with the necessary security standards. And also we should make sure that it is not violating any of the rules of the land where exactly the data is. And also like see, having encryption is not the only solution. We should be able to get the decryption also, right? So there may be many cryptographic algorithms that will encrypt the data, but that should also be implementable on a system or in a communication strategy. That is also important. So we should keep a balance of all these things, right? So how we can tackle these cyber crimes? So one of the ways what you can do is we can visit this website virustotal.com and find out in which ways we can tackle this cyber crimes. And some of the takeaways what we can do as a better practice of being victim of any of these attacks is use unique passwords for the drives and don't have the policy of using the same password everywhere. So try to have different passwords which are combination of the letters, special characters, and the names. Anyhow, like up to certain extent, awareness has been created in this case. So the people are using the stronger passwords, and then try to avoid and the public Wi-Fi, so that because it may have a keylogger or some kind of a thing which can track your transactions and keep a note, and then they can use it at a later stage. And then ignore and delete emails from the unknown strangers, because it may, you may be a victim of phishing attacks, even though it is tempting, like you got a job offer or if your resume has been shortlisted somewhere. Don't try to get impressed by all those things. And also like use sufficiently good antivirus software based on your risk profile, like whether you want a higher security level or like low. Based on that, various grading will be there, so based on that you can use. And also use multi-fold authentication techniques tools which are in practice, like OTP based, wherein you will get an SMS immediately when you log in, or device confirmation on an app when you sign in from a remote machine. All those things you can make use of in addition to make this communication secure, private, secure and private. Okay, so this is what the thing I wanted to share with you. Yeah, if you have any questions, like I will be happy to take. So if you have any questions from your end, please let me know. Yeah, I can see some questions from the chat box. So one thing is about the SIEM is a good solution for log management and log analysis. Will SIEM reduce the risk of attacks by early detection? Yes, like, and also they provide almost a real-time analysis of security alerts. So it is one of the good tool to early identification of the risk, and then based on that we can identify what kind of risk may we can anticipate in the near future. Okay, it is up to some extent it is a like good thing, so that we can combine this information security and security event management, and then we can provide a solution. So is the reassessment VAPT is mandatory requirement after the first assessment? Yeah, like it is always a continuous process. We cannot say that at a particular point we will stop this. It should be a particular regular process, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So it should go hand in hand. And also cryptography should be used for stored data, or should be used while transporting the data. You can use it at any level, that is also fine. But at the same time, it should be make sure that whatever we use should also be, let's say, we should be able to get back. Yes, it is used for storing the data by using the encryption techniques like encrypting the disk and other techniques, and also transporting the data. Like now we have seen the end-to-end encryption, right? But there are any legal issues associated with transporting the data, right? If you use the cryptography while transporting the data, like we will have the legal issues, like we cannot trace back the culprits if in case of the crime, and other issues will come into the picture. But whereas in the case, it is a good thing, so that it is avoiding the attackers. So that is the thing. So like zero trust principle. See, there are two things. So one is like zero knowledge protocol, and then the zero trust principle. Zero trust principle is one thing, like whatever is been outside of your organization is considered as zero trust. We will not what is it, trust anything outside or outside the organization, present organization, right? So yes, like zero trust principle should be used for designing any security application. Without that, we will assume certain things. So that should not be the case. We should not take anything for granted while designing those things. Whereas in the zero knowledge protocols, it is used for security audit and other things, wherein the auditor or anyone who is not given access to the he is not given access to the actual data, but he can verify that certain conditions of the data. One of the examples I can give you is, like, suppose say if one fellow solves one of the problems in which is there, one of the problems which is there from many years, right? But how do we know that he has found the solution, or he is he faking? And also at the same time, like, he is not comfortable in giving a solution so that others can copy. So then we can use a zero knowledge protocol, wherein you can verify is the correctness of the problem. Okay, he has given a solution, whether it is correct or not for this solution. That also it can be done. Right, port knocking is a can port knocking be used for authentication? It is a quite difficult problem to answer whether port blocking can be used, but it is like connection attempt is used by having some pre-specified closed port, but it's used for authentication. We need to check, because like there is a variant for this called a single packet authorization, where like only one or one, if any encrypted packet is there, we can just identify, but where it can be used as in a large scale, I am not very sure on that.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, voice was okay.
No, I was not speaking.
Okay. I think the session is completed, right?
Yeah, session is complete. Okay, then